drawn the gradient graph of a function like this. So we don't know what the function is, but we can still draw it. So first of all, I want to identify whether there's going to be any points where the gradient's undefined. And if the gradient is undefined anywhere, then we're going to make sure that we're putting open circles to signify that on your sketch. Okay, so if we look at the graph, we can see here that now there's only going to be a gradient if it's smooth and continuous. So the function's continuous everywhere. So that's fine, we check that. But we look at here, so parts where it's not smooth. So you'll see here that it's certainly not smooth at this part here. Okay, so the definition of smooth is a gradual change in the gradient rather than you'll see here. The gradient's going from 0 to a really high number. So it doesn't have to be from 0 to a really high number. It can just be 0 to 1 without a gradual change from 0 to 1. So you'll see here at this point here, we're not going to have a gradient, so we'll have an open circle at this point here. And then also we'll see we have another cusp here. So we're going to have an open circle here. So this part here, you can see it's a horizontal line. The gradient's going to be 0, therefore it's going to be on the x-axis because we are plotting the gradient against x. Here then we're going to have a really steep gradient, so it's going to appear up here. And then as we go towards the turning point, it's going to come down. So you see here we have one turning point here. So therefore we'll have an x-intercept here. And another turning point here, another x-intercept on the gradient function. The gradient is negative between these two turning points here. And what's happening is it's getting more and more negative until halfway, and then it'll start tending back towards 0. So we'll see the gradient function coming up. Gradient then increases to a certain point, so we'll have an open circle, and then here we'll have a straight line, which is a negative gradient, so that'll be a horizontal line below. So we'll just run it and see what happens here. So the red line is going to be our gradient function. So here the gradient is 0. At this point here, we're going to have open circle. Okay, where it finishes this section, we'll finish it with an open circle. And you see here we get a high gradient, and this gradient's now tending towards 0 at the turning point. That's why we can get an x-intercept here. The minimum gradient here is going to be halfway between, and then we're going to go through the x-axis here, and then we're going to end here, and we'll make sure we put an open circle both here and an open circle here to signify that the gradient's undefined.